Today we are looking at the Backfire Nalu, a compact electric surf skate that could almost be mistaken as an acoustic. This is a board I've been waiting to get a hold of for quite some time now. It's gone through some production issues, but finally seems that people are getting their boards now since its launch back in November. Here's a brief set of specs for the Nalu. The Nalu was originally supposed to be a 99 watt-hour battery, but they later changed it to be a 136. This change upset some people because it would break the threshold for being airline friendly of 99 watt-hours. Not sure why they did this, but sadly once they started shipping the board with the new battery, they had to do a recall since the battery manufacturer had reported a safety issue with their batch. But it's a good thing Backfire caught it early and performed the recall. So for this review, I am using a fixed Nalu with the 136 watt-hour battery. At first glance, the Nalu could be confused with an acoustic surf skate. With no battery enclosure, the only electric components visible are the wires that connect to the hub motors. The underside of the deck of this maple version is just a print, but still looks visually appealing. On top, the grip tape offers a fairly basic design with all screws being hidden under the tape. Backfire did a good job overall with how this board looks in my opinion. There are 4 different deck designs to choose from: maple, purple, cube, and jungle. Depending on which deck design you choose will also determine your edge light. If you follow my channel, you know I really appreciate edge lights, and in an earlier video I said I wish there were more shortboards with built-in lights. Well, it seems I got my wish. The Nalu has 4 different lights to choose from. I went with the light blue and have no regrets. There's some different flashing modes, a steady light, and of course turning it off from clicking the power button twice to cycle through the options. Really like this integrated light and can see it well through the transparent bumpers. The deck is made of fiberglass and maple composite, being fairly short at 30 inches in length and 9.88 inches at its widest point. On both ends you get these transparent bumper guards to protect your deck and the edge light. Its shape is fairly basic, concave enough to get your feet locked in, but nothing too crazy. The grip tape is 2 mm in width, feels pretty comfy. My feet fit okay, but one thing that I feel is missing is a proper kicktail. There is just this small lip at the end. This could have been extended out a little further. My other surf skates have kicktails and I usually plant my rear foot at the very end. The wheels are 80 mm in size with a durometer of 78A. I do think this is about the right size of where the wheels should be. Surf skates usually have slightly smaller wheels, but I can still properly pump with these while not using the throttle. Since this is a hub motor powered board, the rear are just using sleeves and not a full wheel. It seems to keep traction pretty well, but can still slide depending on the circumstances. Thanks to the hub motors, this thing is very quiet. That, coupled with the fact there's no battery enclosure, makes it very easy to be disguised as an acoustic. Take a listen. One of the strongest attributes of the Nalu is its light weight, coming in at only 12.8 pounds. This is the lightest electric board I've ever used. It's so refreshing to not have to carry around all that extra weight from a bigger battery. No battery enclosure as well makes it easier to side carry. Now when it comes to power and performance, I want it to be made very clear that this is not what the Nalu was designed for. The power coming out of this, even at the highest speed setting, is very weak. The top speed caps out at 16 miles per hour, and getting up there can take a while. Hill climbing is advertised at only 15%, so you will stall on some hills. Doing a hill test of my own, I found this incline here at 7.2 degrees. Even with a decent head start and on the highest speed mode, it struggled pretty bad and eventually stalled. So just be aware that this little board lacks power that other short boards would normally offer. The Surf Trucks makes turning very sharp, giving an advertised 60-degree turning radius. This is far more nimble than other shortboards using RKP trucks. The design is similar to a Carve CX, but the turning seems to be restricted by the cup washers colliding with the truck. It's going to leave some scratches, but there's still a decent turn and lean in this board. Carving actually feels really good. It's much more flowy than standard RKPs. Any chance I get, I initiate that surf-like carve. The bushings are just like all stock bushings and feel as if the board would benefit from replacing them. So I went ahead and bought some Riptides. I went with APS CX shorts and follow the stock configuration of cones in the front and barrels in the back. This really livened up the carving, so I recommend doing this, especially since it's a surf skate. A link for what I use will be in the description. Comparing this to the waterborne setup on the Mini 2S, it's not only a lot lighter, but much lower. Or at least it feels that way. The Mini 2S setup was sitting at 7 inches, while the Nalu is at 6.2 inches. Every time I step on the Nalu, it feels very stable. I do prefer the Nalu with its designed surf trucks versus the RKPs attached to the waterborne adapter. Now, when comparing it to a regular surf skate, the feeling is very close to something like a Carve CX, but it doesn't seem like this will replace it. This is primarily due to the hub motors are going to have some drag when free rolling. I can pump without the throttle, but having 4 regular wheels will pump and roll better overall. So that, plus the fact the Carvers I own have a much better deck shape along with a good-sized kicktail. The charging time is advertised to fully charge in 2 hours, and this seems to be correct from my experience. The charger isn't too heavy and can be easily stored in a small backpack. On the website it mentions fast charging multiple times, but after asking Backfire, they told me they do not offer a fast charger. Maybe this will be something they will add in the future. The remote is fairly basic and seems to be the same they use for their other boards. There's 2 different speed modes from the SE button here, and then a third turbo speed mode by pressing this button here. I always just leave it on the turbo to get the max speed. This switch here is for forward and reverse. Other than that, it functions like most other remotes and gets the job done. One small complaint that I have is that every time I turn the remote on, I have to also enable turbo mode. My other remotes always save my speed mode, so this is a small annoyance. It should also come to no surprise that range should not be expected out of the Nalu with its small 136 watt-hour battery. For me, the range varied. On a trail with big hills, my battery dived pretty quick with around 5 miles in range. The best I was able to do was on a 50-degree day, fairly flat test, ran it all the way to 0 bars, getting a total of 6.4 miles. It starts getting that voltage sag at around 3.5 miles in, so by the time I was at the end, the thing was barely moving. At the time of this video, you can get the Nalu at $499 with a discount code. That price is a little steep if you compare to other shortboards, but on the other hand, it is a fairly unique little board. I consider the Nalu to primarily be a toy compared to other e-skates. With that said though, I do feel that Backfire did successfully make an electric surf skate. The primary reason someone would want this board would be the portability factor, the stealth electric components, and the surfing feel. Although for avid surf skaters, I would argue this will not replace your acoustic board. The best use case for this board is very short range traveling like a downtown area or university where you want to get that surf carve in between destinations. Thank you again for watching. Until next time.